Mic check. If my mic hasn't been on that whole time, I'm gonna be mad. Okay. Yeah. So purchased fields equals data.purchaseFields. It sets it to what you had saved before. So if you had bought all these fields right out here, then that's a purchase field. That one is, maybe say you didn't buy this one, then that one is false, and then those two can be true. So back to our left monitor, in our saving function, we have I equals 0, less than purchaseFields.length. This looks a lot like right here, but this time, instead of just setting everything to false, we say if I, which comes from our for loop right there, if, this is basically equivalent to saying equals equals true. So if that one purchase field happens to be purchased, then we do what's in there. You don't really need the equals true on there if it's a boolean. It's pretty easy to just leave that out. Shortens up your code a bit. So then we check and see if there is a game object, because right here, if you look at this, there is not a game object for a field for any of these fields right here. There isn't one. There's only one for each of those. So that's currently implemented in there just to make sure that we don't throw any errors. So basically, if the game object is not null, if it's not nothing, if it is something, then we run that same thing again right there, and we get the component by land and force the land to be enabled. So then down here in our data, if it has chickens, then it finds the chicken controller and forces the chickens to be enabled too. So you might be wondering what this player data is. Well, it's a serializable class. It's not incorporated in the game at all. It's only like a code class. So it has a float for cache, a float array for position, and I'll tell you why in a second, a bool array for purchase fields, and a bool for has chickens. So this player data takes a cache controller, a position, a transform, and a game controller. So our cache is the easiest. It's basically cache controller.cache. That's easy. So basically whenever you save it, it sets the cache to be the amount of cache you have. Now here's an interesting thing. Position equals new float with a length of 3. So that sets our float array position to be a blank float array with empty spaces for all of those. And then for each of our positions right here, 0, 1, and 2, we have player position, that's our transform, remember, dot position, dot x, y, and z, because you are not able to save a vector 3. A vector 3 is a unity type of element, and so you can't really save that. So we basically just have to pass all the values from the vector 3 manually into a float array, which anything can read. So that's what we're doing right there. Purchased fields, new bool 20, you saw that before, sets it up as a nice blank boolean array, and then it sets the purchase fields to the game controller's purchase fields that we were just looking at. Same thing with has chickens, it's just if you have chickens, then sets that up. So finally in our save system, if you remember over here, save system.loadPlayer, well here's our save system. Our load player, here's a bit of complex stuff. It basically takes a persistent data path, which is a path that on all devices, whether you're on PC or Quest, anything like that, it takes that persistent data path and adds the path gamesave.save to it. And so if a file exists right there, then it can deformat, basically read that binary, and take it from that stream. So our binary formatter is what's like the decoder. The stream basically opens up that file right there. And so then we can make a new player data equals our formatter, remember right up here, dot deserialize, and then our file, our stream, as player data. Because we want to cast it to player data so that it's not just all the values sitting there. and then we can return data. If there isn't an awesome little file sitting right there, then we have to log an error and return null. Really sad. I do not currently have the watch controller open, but it basically, when you click that save button, it does the opposite of load player. It opens up a new binary formatter, takes the path that we need, opens up the file right there, and then our player data, basically making a new player data constructor right there, and passing in our cache controller, player position, and game controller, just like in our save player right there. And so then our binary formatter, we can serialize into our stream file the data that we just got right there. And then we have to close the stream. It's always important to close the stream because otherwise the file might remain open, and that would definitely not be good. Don't want to leave the definitely don't want to leave the stream open. And then in our settings menu, we have the option to delete a save if we wanted to. So let's switch back to our main desktop here so you can see me and see the scene. And in here, I think that it is definitely something we need to do. Setting up a, basically saving our tutorial as a player data thing in our game save as opposed to a player prefs, because if you forget to save and you restart but you've already finished the tutorial, well then you're not able to get any money really. So that's something that we will need to do. And something else we need to do is incorporate autosaves. So why don't we try that out, see if we can set up an autosave. Shouldn't be too hard, right? Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard. So we're going to say, I don't know, let's make a public float save time. And, ooh, I messed that up. Public, there we go. Why don't we set that to every 5 minutes, so 300.0f, 300 seconds. Okay? So then in our start, we are going to start coroutine. We're gonna need to make a coroutine for that first, so let's head down here and make an IEnumerator. That basically starts up a coroutine that you can run asynchronously from the update. IEnumerator, let's call this auto saver. Don't need anything in there. Not all code paths. Oh yeah, doy. So while, we're gonna need to add a while loop. True. Then, and we can always change that later. We can always change that while true to be something like while the game saving, like the auto saving is enabled. Like if someone didn't want auto saving, I don't know why. But we'll just leave it as while true for now. And let's say in here, yield return new. Wait for seconds. And then let's say save time, because we already set that up at the top. Now we can put in our coroutine autosaver. Awesome. Need parentheses right there. Alright. So down here then, we need to save. So if we remember our watch controller, let me pop it open. You can't see me on the other screen, but 1 second. Menu controllers, watch controller. Boom. So when you hit the save button, it saves all this crap. That is a really, really long line of code. 234 characters. That's interesting. Doesn't look like we need anything in here. I'll check, but we shouldn't. And so then in our game controller, we're just gonna say Foomp. Amazing. I wonder if we can squish this out to look a bit nicer. There we go. Ah, that looks nicer, doesn't it? Let's just leave that on the end. Okay. So we're saving the player, cache controller, XR rig, game controller. So it waits for that amount of time, saves, waits, saves. It'll do that until the end of time, basically. So that's implemented. Why don't we add in here just a call to debug.log game auto saved. Awesome. So we have our game auto saved in there. We started our coroutine. Shouldn't need anything else in there. Although we definitely will want to have a save time. So why don't we head back into our main desktop. And our autosaver is now enabled. Now let's do the other thing with our saving function that we needed to do. Setting our slide. So, over here, our tutorial controller. Do you see how it has all these different current slide if functions? Well, it saves this slide as a, it basically saved this slide as a player prefs, okay? And, I set up this whole fancy thing for getting player prefs bools and all of that. It's really not that important to do that. Why don't we remove some of that code and refactor it a little bit? Let's make it look a bit nicer and fix a few things. So, in here we're going to have, let's see, we already have a int for the current slide. So let's make that a public int now, because we're going to need to access that from another location. We can remove that, can entirely remove this, should be able to remove that, and we won't even need to do any getting or saving player prefs bools. Remember, I set this up much earlier than I set up the saving function. So that's why it's like that. So we're going to say, over here in our game controller, let's just copy all that awesome information, like that. And in our tutorial controller, we're just gonna paste that in, save system.loadPlayer. And then we're just going to say, current slide equals data dot current slide. Boom. So that's currently giving us a little red underline saying that current slide isn't a thing. So over here in our player data, we're going to need a new public int current slide. And let's also pass in a tutorial controller, and current slide equals tutorial controller dot current slide. Awesome. So over here on our game controller, we're going to need one more thing added. So let's take that out and say, comma, GameObject.find, and let's make sure we know where it is. Is it on there? No. Oh, I wonder where it is. There it is. Tutorial controller. So we're just gonna say GameObject.find tutorial controller. Should have switched back to my main screen so that you can see that, but doesn't matter too much here. .get component tutorial controller. And let's put on one of those. That looks good, right? Let's see. So our player data. Huh. Wonder what's going on here. No overload takes for. Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. I set up the constructor on our player data, but I didn't copy that over to our save system. Silly me. So let's copy that and plop it right in. And tutorial controller. Oh, shoot. Awesome. That all looks good, right? And then the only other place we need to fix this is in our watch controller. So we already did it in the game controller. Why don't we just copy that code over? Now, I don't like how that looks, so I'm just going to plop that down for each one. There we go, that looks great. And let's put a comma right there. Looking good? Yes. Okay, so over here in our tutorial controller, right here we load up our current slide. That all looks good. If current slide is nothing, so let's say if current slide equals null, then we're just going to say what does it want me to say? It's always false. Well, I mean, let's see, if current slide, why don't we just say in here, player data, current slide, let's just leave it. There shouldn't be a problem with it, other than the first time you save it. I would say, we could go over onto our player data, and we could just write a default there. What about on our save system? Returns null, just plain null. Let's see. We'll leave it. If there's an issue with it when I test it out, I will fix that before I release. So that's all good. We have that enabled. Our chickens are there. That's a little bit odd, but that's alright. That goes around now. Something I do want to say is this, when it goes around, the volume is still really loud on that, and I figured out a decent way to fix it anyway. In our market pickup controller on the left monitor, when the pickup goes to the market, it makes the volume 0.25% of what it normally is. It's normally 1. Well, don't forget, this is sharing an audio source. The truck shares an audio source, so it plays that cha-ching sound and the truck starting sound. Both of those on the same audio source. So it's not easy to set a volume for both, so I'm just making that cash register sound play at full volume, whereas the truck's at only 0.25 volume. It was deafening the first time I did that. Something I will be adding over here will be like a place where you can get a tractor so that you can automate certain things, like maybe automating harvesting. You see, like right there, yeah, I didn't switch back. Right there is where there'd be like some kind of warehousey kind of thing for a tractor. So that it can maybe automate harvesting, something like that. In here, doesn't look like there's anything else we really need to do here. Although, one thing I did intend to do was make an effect for this, because it's like kind of a neat little water tower. Let's create an effects particle system. Okay, and let's focus. Oh, that's gonna be way too far out. Let's just pull that particle system to right there. We are going to rotate it downward a bit. There. Let's call it 90. Hope that's in the right place. Yes? Huh? Our X is a bit odd, but that's okay. Our Z, we're just gonna make it 5.65. That puts it close enough to there. Now that is really, really big water. And also it's not really emitting how I'd kind of like it to. So let's come down here to shape. Hit, random, shape is cone. Okay. Aha! And there's the issue. So let's pull that all the way in until it only will make water right there. And water really in general, in my opinion anyway, doesn't spread out that much. Maybe a bit, but I mean, not that much. We're going to need some color for this. And yes, we can make them half transparent-ish. Ah, looks nice. Let's add in... they're living way too long for me. 3, 2, 1. Start lifetime of 1 seems to work. Let's do emission. And make it emit like 20 over time. That's a bit odd how fast they're going. Let's make them not start with a speed and just add a gravity modifier. That's getting there. Isn't it? Yeah. That looks decent. However, we don't really just want that to be spraying water out all the time. So why don't we make it when you walk in a certain location? So let's just do, let's create a 3D cube right there. Bloop. Focus. F is always to focus in Unity. So if you need to set something up where you made it and then it's out of your view, just hit F and it will pop right into your view. It's kind of cool. So there, we've added that, and we're just going to remove our renderer on it. And why don't we now add a script for it? So this script is really not necessary. It's just an effect. So we're going to create an C# script. We're going to call this water tower. And it is in the effects controllers. So let's pop that open right here. Water tower. Awesome. Now on our left monitor, we're just going to do a void on collision enter. And we're going to make a bool is raining. Sure. Raining equals false. Awesome. So then right here we're just going to say is raining equals not is raining. I don't like that. Let's just make it is raining equals true. I wonder if there's a non-collision exit. Does our player have a thingy on it? Yeah, it does. So our XR rig tag player. So let's just say if collision dot game object dot tag equals player. Then we're going to set it to is raining. Now Now, I wonder, is there an on collision exit? I just have to look that up 1 second. I have a comment. Perfect. Alright, right in here we're just going to look up Unity on collision exit. So there is one, okay. So when it stops touching it, okay. So let's just say on collision exit. And better yet, let's just say false. Awesome. So then in our void update, we're going to say if is raining, and we can then say we're going to need a new public game object. We're going to make it simple with just game object, and we're going to say water dot set active true. Just turning it on. And then we're going to say else, because I don't feel like writing a second if statement. Else is easier. Water dot set active false. Awesome. Now let's head back over to our main screen. There's that. On our main screen right here, we're just going to grab this cube. We're going to add on the water tower. And we just need water. So now when the player walks over this, they will be touching it, and that will enable the water. Pretty cool. Nice. So we have fixed the chickens, added autosaving, and moved our tutorial slide save from player prefs over to the game save, just like everything else. That's definitely a good bit of work to get in here. This is looking good. Alright, so that's probably the end of today's VR Farm game development live stream. Thanks for sticking with me during that, and I will be releasing an update to the itch.io page pretty soon. Just so you know, the itch.io page is picoplanet.dev.itch.io/VR-farm-game. Can type that right into your browser and download VR Farm Game now. It is available for both PC and Quest. Don't have to donate, but donations are greatly appreciated. Alright, thank you for watching, and I will see you again on another live stream soon. Bye.